Thank you to Bridge for sponsoring a portion of this video.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome.
So Google just made, I think, one of the biggest plays that we've seen in the tech space in a long time, and I'm here for it. The Pixel name just became the Pixel ecosystem, and Google's about to release products that directly compete with not only companies like Samsung, but are now going head-to-head in even more categories against Apple. And whatever side of that fence you are on, that is amazing for the consumers. And as good as that is, I think Google can actually do more in order to make the Pixel the ecosystem that it can be. There's a few suggestions, humble suggestions, that I've got. And if Google does this right, they might make the Pixel the phone and the ecosystem to have. So reversing a little bit, Google I/O just took place a few weeks ago. Aside from announcing a new software with Android 13, Google also took the wraps off a metric ton of hardware, and honestly all of it seems really compelling. So the big one was the Pixel 6a, which is obviously the more affordable version of the Pixel 6 and the 6 Pro. And I've been saying for a while that the A line of phones should be one of the main things that Google is focusing on. And even though the Pixel 6 line was a gigantic step, making the entire Pixel line great, I think the A line is going to be the best option for most people, especially this year. So you get a lot of awesome things with the 6A, but the biggest one, it's rocking Google's Tensor chip. And it's the exact same chip that you get in the top-end 6 Pro. And with that, you get all the AI and processing from Google, which should lead to really amazing camera performance, solid battery life, and of course, great software we know and love from the Pixel. And all of that is for $150 less than the Pixel 6. I think it's going to be the phone to beat, especially on the Android side. And obviously the phones got better year over year, but it's still the same price as the Pixel 5a was. Now the screen is still 60 Hertz. I certainly wish it was a high refresh rate. And the main camera sensor is different than what we've got on the Pixel 6 line. But with Google's machine learning, these photos still look absolutely amazing. This is not only an Android phone for everybody. In a lot of senses, if you don't have an OS allegiance, it's kind of the perfect phone for most everybody. Aside from that, Google also finally announced the Pixel Watch. This one's been rumored for, now it seems like better part of half a decade. So and finally, we've got legit competitors for Samsung and Apple, especially here in the US. I know other companies make wearables, but those are the main options here in the US, and I am here for it. It's circular, looks awesome, obviously has Fitbit integration, and of course uses a Google Assistant, and that is great. I think one of the biggest knocks on this guy, the Apple Watch, is that it relies on Siri for a lot of things that go on with voice. The design, it's getting a little long in the tooth. I love the round looks. Getting notifications on your watch are incredibly useful. All the fitness things you'd expect from having Fitbit built in. This looks like not only an awesome watch aesthetically, but an awesome piece of kit. It actually is really useful now. And that's if that wasn't enough. We also got a peek at the new Pixel Buds Pro, Pixel 7, which Google just decided to leak themselves. Even got a look at the Pixel tablet that should be coming sometime next year. And just as a side note, I love that Google was like, here's the Pixel 7. They're gonna leak it anyway. Take a look at it. We'll tell you more about it later. I thought that was a kind of a baller move. Any way you slice it, Google looks to be super serious about their hardware game, and it's really a compelling package now. One thing you are going to need no matter what ecosystem you are in is a way to expand your ports. USB-C is awesome. Thunderbolt 4 are awesome, but you don't get a lot of them on any computer or any device, unfortunately. If you're lucky, on the best one, maybe you'll get 3, and that's not enough for all your things to plug into. So this is the Bridge Stone Pro TB4. You probably know Bridge. They make, I think, probably the best iPad keyboard docks going. They've got a hub with 12 ports that if you can think of a port, this thing has it. So you've got 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports, 1 USB-A 2.0, 3 USB-A 3.2, an SD card reader, 1 gigabit Ethernet port, a 3.5mm audio port, and then 1 dock power port. This thing's obviously a powerful beast. It's got 90 watts of power to charge whatever you want. Crazy fast transfer speeds, 40 gigabits per second. This thing does absolutely anything that you could want. You can sort of have it standing up, you can put it flat. It's going to give you all of the ports, and sort of my favorite thing about it is that it's just going to connect using 1 Thunderbolt 4 port, and that's it. The other ports on your laptop or desktop are free and open, and you've got 1 port that it can sort of split out into absolutely everything. There are a lot of options when it comes to docks, but if you want one that is going to work well, last you, and give you every port option that you need, the Bridgestone Pro TB4 is an awesome way to go. If you want to learn more, check it out. We'll link to them down below. Google's finally sort of filling the gaps they had in their hardware product strategy, but it really got me thinking about what else Google could do to make the Google ecosystem what it can be. What if Google bundled all their products together into like the ultimate Googs starter pack? This is a concept I've talked about before with other companies, but I think with Google, it makes a ton of sense for a few reasons. So you have to remember what Google's business model is. They are making hardware, but it's not really a profit play, at least not directly. Sure, their phones and hubs and Wi-Fi and Nest and everything else they make are generally pretty great, but Google isn't selling it to you to be a one and done transaction. They are selling it to you to get into the Google world so I can learn more about you and serve you what Google does best, and that is ads. Even all these years later, the Google business model is still ads. Whether that's a good or bad thing doesn't take away from the fact that it is very, very true. And that means Google's product decisions are vastly different from other companies. And the best place to see this in action is with the Pixel 6. Like for years, Pixel fans were begging Google to make a high-end Pixel that was affordable, so Google finally did it. The 6 and the 6 Pro come in hundreds less than top competitors. Even if the margins on the Pixel 6 aren't as high, Google will make up that difference sort of as the user lives in the Google world. So with that in mind, what if Google offered a package that gave you the entire Google ecosystem for, say, $70 a month? This could be made up of new Pixel 6a, Pixel Watch, Pixel Buds, and even Nest Wi-Fi. So customer gets a phone, and like a really good one. Like I mentioned, Pixel 6a is shaping up to be, I think, a killer phone. A lot of the same features as the more expensive Pixels. That's awesome. You also get the watch, which I think is a integral part of the ecosystem. Plus, it just looks awesome. Pixel Buds are a great seamless option to listen to your favorite music or videos on your phone. And honestly, the price, this is a no-brainer to include, especially since the Pixel does not come with any headphones. Last, I think it'd be really smart for Google to bundle its Nest Wi-Fi. This is their latest sort of router setup and offers a lot. And of course, it would be a great Wi-Fi router for most people. It also acts as a Nest Mini with a speaker so you can ask Google Assistant questions. And again, going back to Google's business model, having the Google Assistant ready in your home makes a lot of sense. And just maybe, if you live in a supported area, Google could even bundle in Google Fiber at home. So from A to Z, you're being served Google. If we're gonna go a step further, maybe even a Google Fi phone plan thrown in there. I know this might sound crazy, but also might be the best way to get customers inside of the Google ecosystem. And it would cover pretty much every digital part of a person's life, and let Google gain that info. That would make it worth the price, even if Google would be sort of losing money on the short term. On the flip side of though, this would be a killer deal for the customer. Not only do you get a brand spanking new phone, you also get all the other sort of awesome stuff to go along with it, and sort of now you are wanting to join the Pixel family. So now, I don't think Google is actually going to bundle all these products together at all. If you want to though, have at it. Don't have to give me credit, but I think it is a pretty good idea. But the reason I'm even suggesting Google do this is because there's still a fundamental problem with the Pixel line that Google has yet to solve, and that's the simple one of adoption. And listen, I'll admit it's hard to sell someone sort of from the Apple side to switch over to the Android side. I'm not even going to focus on that at all. But Google should, in theory, have a much easier time converting other Android users to the Pixel line, but just isn't happening as fast as I'm sure Google thinks it should. And that being said, I think the Pixel 6 was a gigantic step in the right direction, and it showed that Google was absolutely serious about the line, especially after the Pixel 4 and Pixel 5 that came before it. And to me, there's no doubt the Pixel 6 hardware is great. And from that little sneak peek, the Pixel 7 looks to be awesome as well, and at least for one more year, you know that Pixel line, at least of the phones, is going to be staying around. From a sales perspective, it certainly seemed to have helped. In a year with crazy supply constraints, economic issues, Google said the Pixel 6 sold more than the 4 and 5 combined. Now granted, it's still only a few million units, but it is definitely a step in the right direction. I think offering other high quality products in the same ecosystem is going to drive that even further. With Apple, I can have my phone, my watch, my earbuds, tablet, even a computer. With Samsung, I can say the same. But with Google, the gaps still exist. So now that Google is filling those in, the only reason to sort of not go with Google would be the experience of those products. And luckily, Google's really good at making solid software and solid hardware, especially when it all comes together with AI.